Hey everybody, it's your girl Michael. So today's episode is our last episode talking about our story. So it's part 3, and this episode we're still gonna be getting pretty raw, but we're gonna be talking about being renewed, rebuilt, and restored within our marriage. We hope that you enjoy this episode, and without further ado, here we go.
Wanting and waiting for, and every day I'm wanting more. Even though we had a minor slip-ups, we are never, ever, ever giving up. Got the modern Gina kind of love, and shit that comes from above. And my friends ask me how I know that you are the one. I know you're the one. I know you're the one.
Hey.
Yo.
So welcome to the show today. This is our last episode
What's
talking
good,
about
everybody?
our story, part 3. So
Not the last part of the show, but
Yeah,
you know, the
our-
last
of our story.
Yeah,
Of our
there'll
story.
be more episodes to follow, of course.
you're a trip. All right, so we're gonna jump right in
Right.
because we have some topics today that are gonna come up that are gonna be deep again. But anyway,
Right.
so I'm gonna ask you, babe. So what do you think?
Out the gate.
Yeah. What do you think was key to coming through on the other side, a stronger couple from what we've been through?
Prayer. Let me hold on. Let me reverse that.
Okay.
God first.
Yes.
Then prayer.
Yes.
Commitment.
Ooh.
Communication. Honesty. And when I mean honesty, I mean full, raw,
Yes.
unadulterated honesty.
Yes.
In reference to any and everything that needed to be said.
Yep.
So it can all be put on the table.
Right.
So excuse me. That's probably like,
What's that, 5?
I don't know, yeah. I mean, but it was a number of things.
Yeah.
That was probably a few just to sum it up, and I could probably go. It was a lot of things. There really were no top 3 because it just depended on what day, it depends on what emotions, it depends
Well,
on how we felt at the moment
I
talking
think
about it.
the biggest key to coming through was the first thing you said was God.
Yeah, true.
That was key.
Yeah. Well, God was always present there because, again, even before things were coming out, there were plenty times behind closed doors that no one saw me crying hard as a rock, just bawling and screaming to God. There were times I would be screaming in the rain to God, just let myself get soaked and drenched because I just didn't want to live in the pain and misery no more. So that's where I say it been started with God.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that's what I'm saying. I think that's
Yeah.
a huge key to both of us. And even with us not even knowing that, like, I didn't know that you were doing that when you were doing that.
Right.
I didn't see that. But that was the top notch key. So in me answering my own question, I think the key to coming through the other side, a stronger couple, was number 1, full blown God.
Right.
Because for me, like you said, we've both always had a relationship with our Heavenly Father, but when we were going through those trenches, my relationship was the only relationship that I had.
Right.
I wasn't talking to anybody else about what was going on. No family, no friends. Everyone on the outside thought that I was fine.
Right.
I put up a real good facade. And so the only person that I let in
Was
to all
God.
of that was God.
Right.
And at that moment, and at that not moment, but at that time, I literally went to him the minute I woke up, all throughout the day, before I went to bed. I mean, I was constantly
Right.
praying, constantly listening to sermons, constantly listening to gospel music. There was never a time in my day that I was not allowing him to be there
Right.
walking beside me. So for me, most definitely, the key was God.
And when I say prayer, I think it really wasn't, it was, for me, was when I say prayers, I'm talking about prayers from you because
Right.
in that moment, in that vulnerable state where I was just all chaotic, It was your prayers. It was seeing
Yeah.
you pray. It was
Right.
seeing you go to your prayer closet. It was seeing you come when I come home on your knees praying beside the bedside, you know, or just stopping and praying in the kitchen or whatever like that. So
Right.
God in prayer, and the commitment was basically I decided though at the end of the day that, you know, I'm committed to this relationship. That means that no matter what, everything and anything with you comes first.
Right.
No matter how hard or difficult the question may be, how hard or difficult the problem may be, the commitment means that I need to make a commitment. If I want this to work, then I need to be committed full with everything in me to get
Right.
through this relationship
Right.
to try to make it work. That's
Right.
the only way, because if you're not doing these necessary things, these necessities, they may sound like they're not big, but they are big even though they're actually small.
Yeah.
Because they're so, you know, they vary with each individual. So in my perspective, even though I didn't have the energy to be able to pray for myself,
Right.
I knew you had the energy
Right.
to pray for me.
And you took
And I gravitated towards
yeah,
that.
you gravitated to that and you took that seriously. I remember one day I was in my prayer closet, and a lot of the times when you used to come home, I wouldn't be around, and because I would be in my prayer
Right,
closet.
and I knew where you were.
And you came there and you were like, you know, please continue to pray for me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel your prayers working. Please continue to pray for
Right.
me. So
now
that was huge.
Just since you bringing that point up, just to let women know out there, even men, you definitely will see what the other person is really wanting to do, based on little things. Again, like my wife saying, I'm coming up to her saying what I said to
Yeah.
her,
I mean,
which
yeah.
I don't remember.
Right. And you even said, like, I know I'm not doing all the things right now,
Right.
but I feel your prayers working.
Right. So this is just a number of things, you know, that you have to do. And anyone that says it can't be done, it can be done. It may not, you know, it's either meant to be with the person you're with, or it's not meant to be.
Right.
One way or the other. There is no in between.
Right.
There is no grade. There's to be honest, it's only black and white.
Excuse me.
I mean, there's gray within a relationship,
Of
but
course.
when we're speaking of this, far as commitment, is either you do or you don't.
Right.
You can't be half in and half out, because when you half in and half out, what are you guys getting yourselves caught up into?
Right.
Cheating. Duh. So you have to be
Right.
in it 1,000%. I ain't say 100%, 1,000% plus.
Right. Exactly.
That's just what it is.
Each person.
Right.
So moving on,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say are your three biggest three biggest lessons you've learned from what we've been through?
I would say that hurting someone is never an option. I feel
Wow.
hurting is never an option. Hurting someone is never an option. And the reason I say hurting someone is never an option, because at the end of the day, you always have to think about, what if the shoe is on the other foot?
Right. Right.
Would you want someone to, you know, produce and give you the pain that you're about to give to that person?
Right.
Make
Right.
you feel like you're about to make this person feel?
Yeah.
So you have
So
to
good.
you have to check yourself. You know, that's something like no one sits there and loves to see someone go through pain, at least if you love them anyway.
Right. Right.
And you just have to be on board with everything.
And you know, that's hard sometimes, because sometimes I love how you said, you know, not hurting people, but sometimes not hurting them is going to hurt them.
It's going to hurt them. But
But you got to choose.
Yeah, you
know?
you have your good hurt and you have your bad hurt.
Right.
But you also have to understand that good hurt is truth.
Right.
Bad hurt is the lie.
Right. Exactly.
So even though, you know, you're still gonna give them pain.
Right.
Because if you're committed to making it work, you have to go through it.
Right.
You have to go through the grind. You have to stick your foot in the sand, that glass or whatever, and walk on it.
Yes.
Period.
Gotta walk over the coals.
That's just automatic. There ain't no going around it. There ain't no hovering over it. There ain't no skipping around it. There ain't no, hey, let's come back to it next year and talk about it. Right now, let's move. It don't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. Let's see. Secondly, I
know, right?
There again, seeing you in pain. That actually should have been the first thing. Seeing the woman that I'm so in love with in pain, and from the pain that I've caused. That was probably the most difficult thing in my life because of the simple fact that I knew how much I loved you.
Right.
I knew how much I wanted to be with you, and I knew what I told you in the beginning, and I knew what you went through before me.
Hello.
So for me to be putting you back in the same predicament, but 10 times worse.
Yeah.
That was hard. That was really, really difficult for me.
Yeah.
I never want to see you hurt.
Yeah.
I remember even before we got married, and I remember you going through your surgery, and it was me, you, and Mom there, and just seeing them, like you and the doctors messing with you and everything. Like I think the surgery went good, but it still had me broke.
But I was really sick afterwards.
And so that, like, Mom could tell that day that, oh my gosh, this man really is truly in love with my daughter. He barely knows her, and look at him shedding tears over her.
Right.
So just all the pain that I've seen you go through, like, that's I don't relive it. Not now at least, but for a while that continuously played in my head. That played a big role of also me coming out of everything. Right. Because you were the one person on this earth that I truly did not want to hurt. Right. I ain't care about nobody else. I ain't care. I didn't have a second thought when it come to hurting nobody else. I don't care who you were, because that's just how vindictive I was. But when it came to you, you were the one person that I was the most open and honest I could ever be when I first met. And again, it was a friendship. It was a real friendship that I never ever had. It was. Not even with a male companion. So seeing you hurt and seeing you hurting through the tears and the panic attacks and the constant screaming, the stress, it was just a lot of pain.
It was.
And I didn't want to see you going through that anymore. I told myself I would never do that, so I fought. One way or the other. I looked at it like this: you got to fight, whether it ends up good or whether it ends up bad. You have to fight to let this woman know at the end of the day, whether you are with her or whether you are not with her, that you are very remorseful. Even if you can't be with her no more, at least she can walk away knowing that, hey, in the end, he truly did care. Right. Even though he lost me, he did care, and he does have remorse in him. Right. He does have a heart. He's not cold-hearted. So, and again, I really can't say three things.
Oh my gosh.
For me.
Are you kidding me?
No, I mean, because that's just me. I don't like to pinpoint down things because everything.
Say that to the perfectionist.
No. I mean, I'm saying that to the perfectionist, but you also know how your husband is. I mean, like, you're the perfectionist, yes, but for me, there's never one thing, and I don't feel like in life with any situation. I'm giving you three.
You have
I don't have a top three.
Okay.
I just don't. Right. I can't categorize mine in the top three because everything that happened with me, or whatever struggles, whether they be bad, good, or indifferent. At the moment when I was going through what I was going through, they were all significantly. Yeah, that word. I can never. Sometimes I can't say what I need to say, but they were all. Important. Everything was important. Yeah, everything was number one. Nothing was number two because it all had to intertwine and work together.
All right. Well, anyway. I'll go, and I'm gonna give three because that's what I asked.
Anyway.
So the first, which I think I've already said, was to put God first and surrender, have faith, to make sure that you put action behind the faith. I think that was something also that I really learned in this trial, because, you always hear people say, oh, have faith, have faith, have faith.
Right.
But you have to do.
Right.
You can't just say, Heavenly Father, please help me to, have this marriage work out. And then you just sit there and wait. Like, you have to do. Faith without works is dead. So you have to do. And that's where all the prayer closet and walking with him every day and having that be my go-to was so important. So that's one. And then I think that
you got to clarify that that's
yes,
one.
sir. Yes, sir. So the second is unconditional love.
Ooh, yes.
And I think a lot of people...
And FYI, I do have unconditional love. It was all of that I had was built under that one umbrella of unconditional love. So that's why
I'm just saying.
No. I'm just making sure I put that little ditty in there. Ain't no third, no fourth, no fifth. I'm just saying it's all of these things are my 1, 2, 3s and 4s and 5s and so forth. But go on. Anyway.
Okay, so I think a lot of people misconstrue unconditional love. They like to pick pieces out of what they feel that it means.
Right.
But truly unconditional love for me, I look at like a real Christ-like love where you take off your wife or your spouse hat, you take off whatever hat it is that you have with that person that you're dealing with, and look at them as an individual. I think a lot of times in marriage, we forget that the person that we're with is an individual, a child of God first, before they are our spouse.
True.
Or our partner.
True that.
And we all make mistakes. We all are going through this life learning and changing,
and growing.
Right. And I think sometimes as partners, we like to act like, okay, we got married and they're supposed to stay like that for the rest of their rest of their life, the rest of our marriage.
So I'm glad you said it, because remember the one thing I always said, and I used to say, and I'm back to saying it again, is that the issue I have with men, even that I had with myself, and I used to tell you this in the beginning, men always do all the great things to get the woman. But why don't you continue those things after you got the woman?
Well,
to make the woman feel like this relationship is fresh and new each and every day.
Exactly.
It's not always about the gifts and the money and stuff.
Right.
It's the emotional attachment, because the emotional attachment is what bonds you. It's like the glue.
Yeah.
Because if you can't be vulnerable and open with your heart, and your spirit and your soul, then it's not gonna do. Yes.
But I think that a lot of people expect their spouse or significant other to stay the same and never go through anything that might actually affect the marriage. And so when, and they even look to the other person to make them happy. So what happens
make them feel a certain
or
way,
to make them fulfilled or whatever it is. And what happens is when that individual starts going through their own trauma, for you, it was mental illness and your mental health was compromised, and therefore you started changing.
Right.
And so I remember a lot of the times me saying to you as like my defense thing of, you're supposed to make me happy. I'm supposed to be happy. And I think that's a huge thing to put on somebody else, right? We're supposed to make our happiness comes from within, number one.
True.
You can be happy without having anyone make you do jack. Because what happens is when you put that on someone else, you literally are putting them to a point in their life.
You're giving them control.
You're giving them control, and that's a huge responsibility.
Over you.
For someone else to be responsible of keeping this person happy at all costs.
Right.
When you might, like in your case, was going through hell yourself with the whole mental health situation. So I look at unconditional love truly as Christ-like love, where you can take off all of those other things that you put on a person and look at them as an individual. So when problems come up, you look at them as Javon. You look at them as Michael. You don't look at them as my husband who is supposed to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right.
You know what I mean? And also with that, healing. Healing from our past traumas, healing from things, and being able to spot those things in our life and and literally work on ourselves
Right.
is another huge thing that I learned in this trial, which is what I had to do. When I couldn't help you, meaning when you weren't doing things that I wanted you to do, you were still doing all the running around and this, that, and the
Right.
other, you kind of have to be like, you know what? He will not change until he chooses
wants
to
us to
change,
change. True.
and sees that he needs to change. So who can I change?
True.
Me.
And let me say this to any and everyone that listens, whether you're a man or a woman, whoever that person is that's the cheater. If they tell you they can't change, that's not true.
Right, they're choosing not to.
It's a choice.
Right.
Is this because there hasn't been any type of studies that I've heard of anyway, and if
Mentor.
there is, please in the comments,
Enlighten
somebody
us.
please let me know.
Enlighten us.
But there haven't been any studies that says that, hey, basically,
That a person can't change?
Exactly. There's
Yeah.
no studies just saying that a person can't change, because at the end of the day, you can change, and it is a choice.
Totally.
And I mean, if you really, really messed up mentally, then that's something different. But at that point, you're not in a relationship. You're in some type of mental ward being evaluated, trying to figure out how to
You didn't
live
go there.
a proper. No, but it's the truth.
But
It's- You're out there trying to live a life because you can't function with anybody
Right.
else because you got to worry
You
about
gotta
yourself. So
exactly.
you ain't got time for no relationship. But,
Right.
you can make things work. You just, you got to put in the time.
And sometimes I think it really is, people not feeling like like taking it back to what you said, truth and all that type of stuff. It's hard.
It is.
And sometimes people don't want to take the time to go through the hard.
Right.
They don't want to be able to see that, okay, me telling the truth, me doing right might hurt this person up front, but once we get through that, it will be better.
Yeah.
People don't want to go through that.
No, and they don't
so that's a
realize
huge
the
thing.
more and more they sit there and they not open up and let go and tell the truth.
Right.
No matter how they take the story and switch it around, whether they tell them half or a little bit, or, ooh, let me just give you this little bit and not give you the rest, and I'll give you the rest later, something like that.
Right.
So you just got to be upfront with everything.
Totally. I mean, taking
No
what
matter
you
how
said
hard it
earlier,
was.
honesty to even further than that and being transparent.
Yeah.
Like we had mentioned before, literally coming to and being open and honest, even when you're not even asked.
Yeah. And
So-
and it's hard. It's it's
Oh, yeah,
hard.
totally.
It is definitely hard, but you make it as hard as you want it. You can make it easy for yourself, or you can make it hard. I say this to anybody: get through the hard part, because the easy will come.
Yeah.
The easy will come. At the
Exactly.
moment, it's not going to be, peaches and cream. And the roses may be all
Wilted.
wilted and all crazy, and the ground may be cracked, but eventually,
Right.
once you get through those things,
Well, speaking of those things,
What's
that's
that?
my next question.
here we go.
What were the hardest? And I'll just make it general for you since you don't want to do the
about to
three. What was the hardest things that you went through that in our trial? Like, what was your hard? You just talked about hard. What was your
My
hardest
hard?
things? Yeah.
Not being able to. The hard thing in the beginning was going in it, becoming in the phase of the not remembering.
So what do you mean, like your mental
And
health?
my mental state when
Okay.
it really, like, that was scary for me, because I didn't know whether I was coming or going.
Yeah.
I didn't remember what happened. I didn't remember this or that. It was because you start losing a part of your life that you can't get back.
Just to since you
go
interrupted
ahead.
me, but something that came up. I remember one time, and you might not remember this. I remember one time you were not home and you were away, and you called me, and you were saying that you didn't know how to deal, and you didn't want to be around us,
Right.
meaning our little family, with you being in this state. And I'm like, well, what state? Like, how are you feeling? And the way you explained it was, you said it's like, I see myself, like I have all these thoughts, and I see all these thoughts, and some of them are not good thoughts,
Right.
but I can't do anything about it. Like, it's almost like you said, you saw yourself making all these bad choices
Yeah.
from from afar, like looking on yourself doing it, but you couldn't
Couldn't
control
it. Yeah.
yourself doing it.
That
and
was,
I remember
that was
going,
hard.
what do you mean? Like an out of body experience? And you're like,
Almost
well,
like one. Yeah.
not quite, but kind of like it. And so I remember you telling me that, and you said it makes me very scared because I have no control over the things I'm doing and the thoughts I'm thinking.
Yeah, that did scare me. Because again, like, I became a person that I didn't even know.
Right. Me neither. I didn't know you either.
That I didn't even know that was there, just the way I was. Not to mention, I wanted to. I could have just. I don't know, it's just tough. I can't even. I think that's why it's hard for me to find the words right now, because that was a moment for me.
Yeah.
Because that's a moment I can't take back, because there are still a lot of blank spaces in my head that I can't recall or remember specific things. Like, you sitting there telling me what you just told me, and I'm like, when was that? I'm trying to think.
It was early on. Like, it was early on, but
I don't remember.
I
I know there have been a lot of times that I actually have called you, and I remember riding down the road, I've called you in the middle of the morning and stuff, calling you, pleading and crying.
Yes,
and saying, babe, I just
remember that.
So I would always have those moments. But back to the question, because I want to get off of it.
So that was one. Your mental health was one of your hardest things.
I would just really say, truly, just the overall cheating. Let's just all sum it up in one. The overall cheating, because it's that umbrella. Under that umbrella itself,
it's so many things.
It's so many things.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to say that was the hardest thing, because it's easy to do right. Mm-hmm. You know,
you mean to choose to
do right?
Okay.
It's easy to choose to do right. It's not easy to choose to do wrong. And in my case, anyway, I can't speak for everybody else, so let me make sure I put that out.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
You
Because
might
I know somebody probably like, what?
What do you mean?
What do you
It's
mean?
easy.
It is easy. Just blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but for me at that moment, because I couldn't properly put my thoughts, from saying this thought comes first, this thought comes second, that thought comes third. They were just randomly being jumbled at me and thrown at me, because I couldn't control my thoughts on what I needed to do or how to move, or having, hearing voices in my head, telling me to do something. It's like my mind was playing tricks on me. It's like I could hear myself telling myself to do one thing, but then I could hear myself saying, don't do it. But the side of me that was telling me to do it was more aggressive and more stronger. Like the little
devil and angel on the shoulder in Tom and Jerry.
And that was the mental state. It was, it was just like two people, and one had more power than the other and was stronger and was pulling. So all of that was hard for me. Losing, almost losing my family, seeing you in pain, seeing my kids in pain, even though my kids, they knew, but they didn't know. But you can still see it on their face. You can see it in just their actions. You can see it. Heck, you can see it in my mood swings with reacting to them.
That was the biggest thing for them. Yeah.
And then I would say, also under that umbrella, the cheating, but the coming out of the cheating. That was even more harder than the actual cheating, because at that moment I actually had to face everything. Everything I did, everybody I hurt, all the lies I've told, all the deceiving, the manipulation, it all came to the forefront, to a halt. Like, bruh, you ain't going through this though no more.
Yeah.
If you want to come through this though, you gonna have to give me Social Security. I want your full government name. You know what I'm saying? I want to know what was in your birth certificate. Even though you might be mixed, what's your actual,
I need
ethnicity?
Your DNA. I need, yep.
So that was a challenge, because I knew I wanted to do right. I knew I had to do right. I knew that I was not meant to go down
the road,
a path of destruction. And I knew that from so many people growing up telling me there's something special about you. There's something special about you.
Heck, I
Something
even
special.
said that to
Yeah.
you when we were friends.
Even when
yeah.
that lady that didn't know me when we had that class that day, and we came out of class, and she was like, I don't know you, this is our first time, but you're going to be the one that changes your family's legacy. You know, based on you not being or doing the things that your family would do, i.e. the foster homes and the constant bickering, or, you know, not being in a marriage, going through divorce, all the things that you normally go wrong or could go wrong in a household. I was, you know,
And the cheating.
yeah, and
that was a generational, like your dad, your you know, like it goes back. Yep.
So, I just,
All right.
it was everything to me, and because it wasn't even hard to know that I want you. I knew that, because because at the end of the day, when you want to be with somebody, no matter what you're doing outside, you constantly come back to them. There is no exceptional option. And even though those other people like, yo, you going, you know, you tell them, yeah, I'm gonna leave, you know, who I'm with to be with you. If it ain't happened within a year's time and you still cheating, it ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Then you may believe
or
it.
it might be a forced way because the person that you're with finds out it's like, I don't want to be with you. So then oh, well, now I gotta be with you.
So I'm gonna go ahead and stay in this Jones. You know what I'm saying? So I won't be like, I can go from one to the next. But you ain't, what are you doing? You ain't really resolving nothing. You still got the same issue because you're carrying over that drama from a past relationship to the current relationship.
Well, you're only in that relationship because the one that you really wanted to be with
didn't want your crackhead tail no more. So I mean, that's just what it is. But whew, babe, I mean, when you be I will say this, I'm very, very grateful to sit here and be able to talk about any and everything that I've done and feel free.
Yes. Because
there was a time and a place where I couldn't talk about what I've done because I was so ashamed and so guilt ridden, and so embarrassed and felt like I was worthless and nothing. And now I'm great. I have no problem telling my story to anyone. I tell my story to a lot of young people because I'm planting a seed in their head.
Right.
Even though they don't even know and they might not even experience that. Right. Yep. But especially for the guys, because I'm around a lot of guys, so I'm always constantly telling them, look, don't do these things because these were the things. You want to know why I moved here? This is what the story is. I have no problem telling them, bro, I messed up.
Yeah.
What you mean, bro? Like, I was cheating. Right. What? You know, I don't have an issue with that. But like I said, just being honest with myself, being honest with my family, being honest with my kids, being honest with God. That was the walk that I had never walked.
Yeah. Because that was a lot. I mean, that definitely, like I said earlier, like sometimes people don't want to go through the trenches because of how hard that is coming out of something. Because you not only had to come out and deal with me, but you had to deal with everyone that I was attached to. You know, you had to deal with the other folk and all of that.
You got to basically deal with people either liking you or disliking you or hating you for the moment. But it doesn't mean that they hate you forever. And then you also got to deal with people losing people because that's just the reality of what you did. Look at all the chaos you caused. So you know, it was the remorseful stage was very hard. Yeah. Because I had to go through all the pain that I endured and put on people. Yeah. I had to deal with it and I had to face everyone. Yeah.
Well, let me let you continue to just hang on that and let me
go ahead, babe. I'm
offer
sorry.
my 3. So the first one I think for me was holding on to that faith when I was so far in the pit, you know, of everything that we're going through, like being able to see without seeing us get to this place that we're at right now.
When we're all brought up into this world that believing that a lot of times when you cheat, you can't make
You
it
can't
back.
come back.
Right, you can't come back
Once
from
a cheater,
it. Yeah,
always a cheater.
Yeah.
So like,
not true.
in those moments when you weren't doing well, or you were going back to doing things, or you were, pulled back into stuff, because all of that is very hard, to deal with everything. And I remember being like, Lord, I know you told me to stay, but I don't see it, bruh. Like, I do not see how we are going to get past this. Like, I don't see it. But then still choosing to stay in the walk, stay in the race. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was extremely hard because I had already gone through getting out of a marriage because of this. So I knew, I can leave. Like, I don't have to be in this. So me choosing to stay in something, in a place I was so uncomfortable, so unhappy, felt like, it literally was the worst time of my life. And for me to stay there, that was extremely hard. Another thing was being able to take my hands off the wheel. I just told y'all I was a perfectionist. So me being able to take my hands off the wheel, let go, and give things to God. Like, there were many times throughout that process where I would have...
In other words, everyone, she likes to control certain things within her, for her.
Within my own space.
Right,
So, like,
space.
definitely. I totally own that. Like, I have always, before healing and before getting to this space, I always like to have my hands on the wheel. Even if I gave it to God, quote unquote, I would still have my hand on the wheel, like, you sure you got it? Because I think I should go over here, but So me at a point being able to be like, this is so chaotic and so messed up. I have to take my hands completely off and just let you handle it. Meaning staying quiet sometimes when I wanted to clap back at people.
Not to clap back.
Back. Like, 'cause,
my wife getting gangsta up this joint talking about clap back. You don't never say nothing like that. She's been around me too long.
You had some, I had some folks that were like to slip in my DMs and tell me what they thought was going to happen and who you were going to stay with and blah, blah, blah. And I could have easily gotten wrapped into all of that. And in those moments, and I sometimes would write out this huge thing and then God would be like, don't send that.
Right.
So me being able to be like, woosah it and give it to the Lord was extremely hard.
Okay.
And then on that same note, and I just said it, but being still. There was a lot of times in our trial that I had to just be still and keep quiet, and just allow God to work. You know what I mean? Almost like when you order something on Amazon or whatever, you just know that, okay, I ordered it, I paid my money, and I now just wait for the package. But you don't wait in a state of, oh my gosh,
because you're constantly going back to check to say, when it's coming, but let me see if it's coming early.
You don't do that. Usually you just, I know I'm Amazon Prime. It says it's going to get here in 2 days. I'm going to get it in 2 days. Right. And the only time you really go and check is if it don't come. You know what I mean? But before that, you wait patiently. And that was hard for me.
I don't know about the waiting patiently. I don't know anyone that really waits on a package when they want that to.
If you know you're going to get it in 2 days.
Yeah, but we all know how certain packages are delivered nowadays in the world. So ain't nobody sitting there. You check it every moment you can because you never know if it's delivered to next door.
Well, that's something I had to literally stop doing. It's almost like, and maybe this is a better analogy. It's like when you go to your parent and you ask your parent to do something for you that you know is really important. And your parent says, yeah, I'll take care of that. But then you keep coming back to them, right?
Right.
And did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? And the parent's like, didn't I say I was going to take care of it?
Yeah, have a little faith.
So being that kid and hushing my mouth to Heavenly Father. Like being like, okay, I gave it to him. He's going to take care of it. It looks like a dad blame mess right now, but I know he got it.
Right.
That was also very hard for me. And I think the biggest thing, because this is something we haven't even touched on, and I think we'll probably have a completely different episode about this thing.
What's that?
But another, and this is my fourth, I know I said 3, but another very hard thing that happened was when you brought our little one home.
Oh, I should have led with that.
Bruh, when you brought her into that house that day, that was and she was 5 days old, y'all. But
And
it was
let me,
extremely
Right.
hard
but
for me.
I'm gonna let you guys in on something. The reason I did what I did by bringing that child to my wife, I said that child. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Our child. Oh my gosh, I sound
Our
like
little
such a
one.
bad father. Anyway, because at that moment I knew where my mental state was. I
Right.
knew that she was in harm's way from me, and she was also in harm's way from
Her biological
her
mom.
biological mom, and we both were not in a state of mind to be there for her the way that we needed to. And I didn't trust nobody in her family, and I didn't trust nobody in my family. And so the only person that I knew that I could trust, no matter what the circumstances were you. And so
Yeah.
at that moment, even though I forced your hand, I was protecting our child from me as well as from her mom at the moment, because mentally I was messed up still, and she was messed up.
Yeah.
And I did not want, my daughter to go down the path that I went through.
Right.
I didn't want her growing up in foster care in the court system and going
Right.
through all that crap. I didn't want her to face those demons.
Yeah.
So I did, at that moment, it wasn't even a thought.
It was just.
I just knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I think Heavenly Father just led me to do that, because under any other circumstances, who does that? You never hear of a story where somebody just brings another baby home that they had with someone else 5 days after the baby's been born. Like, that doesn't happen.
For them to take care of.
Right. That doesn't happen
100% of the time. Yeah.
So that is something that I will forever be grateful to you for,
Oh, babe.
because you didn't have to. I don't know no one in my lifetime that, except for things I've seen on TV.
Yeah.
And even on TV, when you're watching TV, you like, oh man, that'll never actually happen in real life.
Right.
Like, psh, what?
I sure as heck didn't think it was going to happen.
For me, it did. And so I knew that was hard. That was hard. I knew that was hard for you. Or I knew now. I didn't know at the moment, but I knew it was hard. And because again, you were being forced to take care of a child that you kind of knew about but didn't know about, but now it was like bam, right on the table in front of you, like what the? And this was
Yep.
after everything came out.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean,
so
we
it wasn't.
Knew,
we knew a child was.
Yeah.
We knew a child was brewing. So, but this was after everything. This was at the point of me getting the actual DNA test done, all that. So, but I wouldn't change that moment for nothing, because my daughter is safe.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
She's happy. She loves life. She's always talking about, Daddy, I'm happy. Daddy, I'm happy. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about, her mom. It's not about none of that. This child is innocent. So
Very
why
much
should this
so.
child go through anything that I brought on?
And that's something that I want to,
Because it's everything that I created.
Yeah, that's something that I want to touch on. So when you brought her home to me, I was devastated.
Oh, I know.
And
now that is the one thing I do remember, is the look on your face.
oh my gosh, I was devastated.
Like,
and
no, this
for me, and let me just give a little bit of background of why. Obviously, it's the obvious, right? Someone bringing a child home from a affair, and bringing it into your home for you to then take care of. But
while she was working.
Yeah, but for me, right?
Yeah, so you couldn't
And while I was
you couldn't
working.
even react the way you wanted to,
No.
because you had to. You was
Right. So, but on top of that, after I had my biological child with my first husband, I was never able to have children again.
Yeah.
And so, me, and it's not that I didn't try. I mean, heck, we tried for
Yeah,
years.
we did.
And it just wasn't in my cards. And so this was like a double 1-2 punch, right? Because I was like, the obvious, but then it was like someone else gave him something that I couldn't even do. And now they're laughing at me, which is what I would think in my head. because now I'm taking care of this child.
Right.
And so it was really, really hard. And like you said, in terms of her innocence, at first, I literally was just her caretaker. I would, feed her, change her, put her to sleep, bathe her, all the things like a caretaker would do. But I wouldn't allow myself to really love her the way that I needed to love her. And I remember one day, I can't remember how old she was, but she was still very little. I remember one day I was in that mode of looking at her and just being like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. And God literally was like, stop it.
Right.
Stop it. Because if you can forgive him and still treat him the way you do, this is an innocent child that has no clue of the mess her parents have made. She has no clue of why she's here. She's just here.
Right.
And you need to love this child. And from that moment forward of me being checked, that's where I allowed myself to love this little one.
Right.
Like I would my niece or any other kid, my best friend's child, whatever. I allowed myself to open myself up to her. And she truly, at first she was a dig in my soul, but she became a blessing to both of us, I think, because when she came into our life, that was another wake up call. The bell went off real hard for you when she came into our life, and you saw, one, that she was here, two, that you had a wife that was taking care of this child that was from a completely effed up situation. I think that had you thinking again of, wow, I need to get myself right.
It did. That
was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
That was the double whammy where both of you, our daughter and you, kind of. I think probably it was the moment where God said, "You know what? I'm gonna use these two to bring you in, bro." At this moment, I'm gonna do it because I'm allowing your wife to do something that no other woman would ever do that you know of or I've ever heard of.
Right, in real life.
Yeah, right. Now there are. Don't get me wrong.
I'm
there
sure,
are a lot.
I know there are.
There are a lot of
I know
women.
That there are a lot now.
There are a lot of women. Like I said, there's things I've heard, like stories
Since
and stuff
then,
like that. But I mean, like I don't know anyone personally.
Right.
But
right.
But at that moment, I knew that Heavenly Father definitely was looking out for me. He was looking out. He was looking out for you too.
Yeah, he was.
But he was saying, "Look, bro, you got to wake up.
Yeah,
you really got to wake up. You have been through all these chaotic situations in your life. Now you're getting this child, and you're gonna have to. You got to wake up,
right? Because what are you setting an example for this child?
Because now what I'm setting the example for, especially with it being a girl, that, hey, it's okay to go out here and allow yourself to be cheated on and to be abused and verbally abused and physically abused. I'm basically giving her the stigma that we don't want a lot of people to have.
And that goes to where that woman said you were going to be the one to change your generational legacy. And I think that having our little one be in your life, that was a ticket.
Yeah.
Because from that and from her being here, that is exactly what you have done.
She woke me up to, she was put first in everything.
Yes.
That was the start of it, because she was even put first before you, because she was she can't take care of herself.
Exactly.
So I had no choice but to.
She was put first the day when you brought her to me. Yeah. You put her first in that instance.
She just, she got me.
She was the, you know how sometimes Heavenly Father, or sometimes like not
she
even
made
that,
me think,
like in a movie, that clincher, where it changes the whole trajectory of the movie and the whole trajectory of the person's life.
Yeah.
That is exactly what that little one did.
Yeah, because again, I did not want her. A lot of things that I've seen women endure and not have fathers in their lives, and I didn't want that for her. I did not want that for her, and I apologize, and my kids know, why I wasn't there before and stuff like that. But this is the one I actually get a chance to do it right with. And I didn't have that opportunity with my other kids because I still wasn't in the right mind. And I had all this drama and chaos and stuff. So I wasn't at a state of mind where I could think clearly the way that I needed to put myself in the right direction to be the best dad. I was just being a dad just to say, hey, bro, you just like any dude. You just sitting there, and anyone can have a baby or whatever.
Yeah, that's just biology right there.
But this time I actually stepped up to the plate, my responsibilities. And it's not that I didn't take care of my other kids. It's just at that moment, I allowed their moms to be the people who take care of them. And I sit back and be that guy to do all this stuff while they take on the responsibility. This time, it was bumped at.
Yeah.
I'm taking on the responsibility.
Right.
So I need to get my life together. I need to get myself because I want this little one to be with me no matter what.
Right.
And I want her to be close to me because I didn't have that. Things I didn't have, I want her to have. Things I didn't give to my other kids, I want her to have. I'm giving those things to my kids now, but I should have been giving it to them when they were smaller. I want her to have a chance to have a life like a child. Live as a child.
Right.
Not grow up too fast.
Right.
Not like I had to.
Right.
Becoming an adult at an early age. So I had to stop.
Yeah.
And then from there, it just trickled down to boom, bruh. Like, this is a baby. But then you see this beautiful woman over here taking care of her too. Like, bruh, she could have just told you to leave.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, you have packed my stuff up more than one occasion.
Yes.
And I remember the first time you packed it up in that daggone room and that wood room and everything was like, I was like, dang.
Yep.
Like,
I sure did.
So,
yeah.
But
yeah, I think
that was very hard. That was a very hard moment. And
even when we got the DNA test back, I remember we did the option where we could get it emailed, results emailed to you. So, cause that was the quickest way. And so when you read them janks off, I will never forget this. I was at my desk and I was holding her and you read it off and I just bawled. And you just came over and you hugged me and with her in my arms and was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Y'all, we'll have to come back to the story, but that was most definitely
and just know this. Just know this. As much as it hurt you, it hurt me even more because I had to see this. I had to, this is what I did.
Yeah.
So that for me was like, what the hell? Right. Bro, it was like my whole world blew up at that moment. That's when the light was like, bam.
Yeah.
Look what you did, bro.
Yeah.
Like.
Yep.
And even
because
then,
until
at that moment,
then, I was still like, oh, there's a glimmer of hope that this still is not. We don't have to deal with this because that moment took us into a whole nother type, y'all, whole nother type of hard.
We were already trying to rebuild as it was,
but
and then
now we actually had to tell people, about this child.
Right. Which we weren't telling people. Like we were halfway telling them the truth.
Like,
and you only did that to protect me.
I'm not talking about the masses. I'm not talking about the mass. I'm talking about when you cheat, when there's cheating in your relationship and no child is there, nobody has to know.
Right.
It can just be you and your spouse, and nobody has to know.
Yeah.
But when a child comes from that situation, and in this particular situation, he has full custody of her, and so there was no hiding her. Right. Like, it wasn't like she lived over here and still nobody had to know anything. She was with us 100% of the time.
Right. Yep.
So now here's another hurdle we're jumping over that we had to deal with. And again, I'm sure we will come back to some of this stuff throughout our podcast episodes, but wow. That was hard.
Yeah, that was hard.
That was hard. All right, so let's get off the hard. And you know what? I think I want to name, rather than saying little one, because we don't want to, I will say this, we don't want to bring her into this whole podcast thing in terms of saying her real name and all that kind of stuff because we want to protect our little one. So since we say little one, let's just call her Lolo. L-O.
You
Lolo.
called you one. I don't. It doesn't matter to me what nobody. And look, at the end of the day, it's my child.
Well,
I don't have to explain other than that.
I'm just saying.
If you don't know me, that's just
who
nickname,
I am. But it's just a protection thing. But anyway, what are your last thoughts, babe? To sum up our whole, part 1, part 2, part 3, what do you want people to walk away with after hearing our story? What do you want them to walk away with?
I think people need to find a way to be, not even people, because women are already vulnerable and sensitive. I think men need to find a way to be more vulnerable and sensitive to a woman's needs and what they need and what they feel. But it's also vice versa too, because a woman needs to understand that man emotions. And I think a lot of men, we truly need to stop hiding our emotional side. We need to stop worrying about what others think about how we feel. There's nothing wrong as a man to cry at any moment. You can cry for happiness, you can cry for sadness, you can cry for anger. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make you no punk or soft because you cried. Like, bruh, get over yourself. You cry when you cry in those moments when you sitting in that room by yourself, boo-hooing and snotty and stuff. So what? Like, don't, yo.
It makes you human.
It does.
I mean, it makes you human.
It does, but I think a lot of men just really need to open up their minds and their hearts, and really take that moment to really understand the emotional side of a woman. Because I think sometimes, if you understand it, you're better equipped to know how to deal with the person you're with. And there's nothing wrong with asking them. If you don't know something,
that is
ask them.
True.
If it's down to the littlest details of things, if you got to make little notes or something for yourself to remember, ask them, look, do you feel like this way today? Or, hey, if we did this, how would you feel about this?
Right.
Because that's how you get to truly know someone,
That's
but you
so
also
true.
get to understand their, what their, their quirks are, like what works for them, what doesn't work for them.
Right.
But you're also in tune to when they have those moments where they really need you, and the emotions and the pains are so heavy and hard.
Right.
And as men, sometimes we think, hey, it's a hug or she'll get over it, she'll be okay. No, it don't work like that.
No, it does not.
Women and men are different. There are some men who are very sensitive and vulnerable and need to go through the pain. But a lot of men, we just sweep it under the rug and expect it to, not to talk about it and bottle our feelings up. Stop.
Yeah.
Like, for real, stop. If you cheated, you was vulnerable to cheat. So be vulnerable to open up and tell that person that you really want to work it out with. Tell them what they want to know. Answer their questions. No matter how hard or difficult it is, it's going to hurt at that moment. Yes. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I know. I'm not telling you something that I have not done.
Right.
I'm not going to give you any information that I haven't done. You have to walk that walk, and you need to tell that person and be open and honest and transparent with them to let them know exactly what you did, why you did it, and the reason of the moment that you were thinking in the moment that you did it. There's nothing wrong with that.
And
get
to
it
be
out.
open and honest to a point what the person needs, I think, too. Because some women and men don't want to know all the details.
No.
They don't want to know it.
And ask them.
But some do.
Right.
And when they do, don't sit there and withhold that from them. Yeah, that you might... Sometimes I think men and women will sit there and say, well, I don't want to tell the truth or the whole truth because they can't take it.
And
they can't take it, or it's going to hurt them more. Yes.
The damage is already done.
The damage is already done.
So let it go.
But who are you to say what they can take?
Exactly.
If they're asking you the question, let them know, well, this might be a lot, but here you go. And give it to them. Because, see, what happens is, I'm going to go ahead and take the mic from you. And I'm gonna give my last thoughts.
I wish y'all could see my face over here. Like, no, she didn't. Like, take the mic. Didn't she start off with the microphone?
This goes right hand in hand with what I was gonna say. I mean, I think sometimes, I always say, and I remember when our kids were younger and they were in their teens, and I would say, lying is never good. When you lie, it's like you are completely disrespecting that person, and you're taking that person's will from them to understand the situation. Also, because you've lied. When you do tell the truth, now it's like they have to relive double fold.
Right.
So I think a lot of times people are like, oh, well, they can't take it or it's going to make things worse. No. When you are coming out of something like this, when they ask you a question, tell them the whole truth. Because
no
that
matter how
honestly
hard it
is part of rebuilding your trust. Even though it might crush them. And you can even preface that. This is going to be a lot. But I'm going to tell you what you want to know. Because you've told them everything, didn't leave pieces out where somebody else can come in their ear later on and say, well, did they tell you blah? But if you really tell them everything, that is the first steps of rebuilding your trust. Because yes, you broke it. But now they see you telling them everything and rebuilding it to a place that it actually will be even better, so I think that's some of my last thoughts is, always be honest and transparent. Start off doing that, meaning if you find yourself in a place where you're looking at another person, be honest with your spouse. Look, I'm feeling some type of way, this is what's going on, and try to catch it before you even step out.
Exactly.
Before you even make that choice to step out.
And I also want to add on to that is that if you're going to take that challenge to work it out and walk the walk and talk the talk, understand this, that when you're revealing those painful moments, and they're going to be very painful, they're going to be raw, they're not going to be pretty.
Nope.
They're going to be nasty, disgusting, evil, you name it. Bad feeling you're gonna feel. But the two people who are in a relationship, whether it's man and woman, two women, two men, whatever you see yourself, you need to make sure that also that you keep that open dialogue as far as talking. You can't sit there and have a conversation and understand, and be in a point that you want the person to reveal everything. But then when they reveal everything, you come at them a whole different way.
Right.
You can't do that.
Right.
Just as important as we have to, we can't sit there and say, look, we don't know what you can and cannot take. You also have to be mindful of what that person that's telling you what they can and cannot take, and what they can and cannot deal with, and what they can and cannot, even though it's hard for them. It's 10 times harder for them to have to tell you.
Yes, exactly.
10 times.
So that is a good key. If you ask for the info, and they are willing to give you the info,
and don't use it against them.
Don't turn around and beat them up even more in that moment.
Exactly. When they're expressing themselves. You
need to receive the information. Not saying you ain't gonna be pissed. Not saying it's not gonna make some
some type of reaction.
Right, some type of reaction. The rest of the night might be a little bit rough.
Right.
But respect that person for answering your question the way you want it to have answered.
Yep.
And so that is huge. So communication for me, my last thoughts is very important, and really making sure that you have trust. And of course, always putting God first. But I want to really get those 2 points out. Those are very important. If you stay with being honest and transparent and having open communication, open dialogue, and treating each other with that unconditional love, that Christ-like love. I mean, how many times does Christ forgive us?
All day, every day.
All day, every day. You're exactly right. And he doesn't love us any less. So if you say you want to work it out, be there 100,000% in each and every day, and walk each other hand in hand through those hard spaces. So those are my last thoughts. Anything else from you, babe?
No, just stay safe, stay prayed up, be blessed. And when I say be blessed, because there's a lot of things going out here in this world, truly be blessed. Live in your moment. Like I said, stay safe, love, be at peace.
Yes.
Find your happiness no matter what. Don't allow someone to drag you down or pull you down.
Oh, and something else before I forget, and I'm sorry, babe.
No, you good.
Is remember when it's time for you to walk away.
Oh,
And
yes.
that is
yes. And
that
you will know it.
You will know.
You will know it.
But remember this, you cannot change somebody else.
Nope, you can't.
They have to be in it 100% to want to change. And when
Right.
you see that there is that barrier and that wall that they put up and they're not willing to move forward anymore, that's your key to, okay, wait a minute, hold up, something's changed, and let me rethink this, let me pray about this again, and then move forward in that light.
Right. They can't talk about it if they're not going to be about
You
it.
ain't
That's
never
just that.
lied.
Like, I didn't talk everything when I needed help, and I knew that I still couldn't get I cried and prayed and asked for help. That's a person wanting to change.
Right.
When you don't do those things, when you don't show that there's no light at the end of the tunnel, that you want to be better, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
And anyone and everyone that's in relationships know it. Sometimes, as far as the time level of that's going to vary because each individual is different.
It's different, yeah.
And each relationship is different. So you know and can vary when is the time to walk away, when is the time to stay.
Right.
That's just that. But don't get to a point where if you got to be at a point where you're going through this and you got to be screaming at the top of your lungs that you're about to come to blows, back away. Walk away.
Yeah, know when to walk
come
away.
back and talk again. Don't get to a point that you're so outraged and so disgusted and mad with each other that you can't complete the rest of the day, especially when there are kids involved.
Yeah.
You can't go around and have that anger. You need to be in this moment, in that moment, and agree it's okay to disagree. Even though I'm ticked and I'm angry, I'm pissed, I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be cool.
Right.
And I'm
come
going to let
back to
cooler
it.
heads prevail, and we're going to come back and talk about this. If we can't come back and talk about it right now, we'll talk about something else and hopefully lead into it. If not, if you got to get someone involved like counseling, do it. That's another thing. Men, stop running away from help.
Yep.
Bruh, get the help.
Well,
You can't help yourself if you don't
Amen.
open up and be vulnerable to help.
Yes.
Period. That's just that.
Exactly.
And women too, because some of
Yes.
y'all stubborn as heck.
Right?
Straight up.
Yep.
Stop being like that.
Exactly.
And on that note, I'm going to be done with that.
Well,
For sure.
thank you so much, everybody, for listening, for being here, for
That's right.
allowing us to share our story with you. So we appreciate you,
Always.
and thanks for listening.
On the Show Up and Show Out podcast.
Podcast.
Hashtag couple goals. Catch us on the gram. We hopping islands. Don't care what the rest say. They don't know how you loving me. They don't know how I love so deep. Thinking with this energy. Thinking with this chemistry.
What's up, y'all? So we
yo,
hope
yo.
you enjoyed that show.
Right.
We really had an awesome time in
Always.
sharing our story with you guys and just getting real and raw.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you being here with us on the Show Up and Show Out podcast.
We do.
And if you like what you hear, please make sure that you subscribe or you follow, you
Hit that
share
like
it out to other
button.
folk
That's
that you
right.
think might glean from what we're sharing. And we love you so much.
True that.
Thanks so much. We out.
Deuces.